Ray Donovan, Bob. So I have to tell you something. Of all the recaps we're doing this week, Bob, I think Ray Donovan might have been the show I enjoyed the most.
That's hilarious because I was kind of bored.
Yeah, well, I think it's saying something about the other shows more than about Ray Donovan, to be quite honest.
True.
Sort of a disappointing recap week for me. Anyway, but it was a great episode for Mickey and for John Voight, who plays him.
Hmm.
We've always faced the question of whether it be on Ray's side or on Mickey's, and I'm not sure we got to the bottom of who's right, but the stakes certainly. Um, so everything's centered around a big fight for the other Donovan, Daryl Donovan. The whole family's going to be there. Ray told Sully to off Mickey there, but Mickey gets a call from the lady he pulled a gun on. They meet. He claims to be a feminist. I thought was funny,
Yeah.
and she says she has a shadow side, and they end up in bed after all. And of course, they find Sully in the hotel. Sully's doing it his way, not Ray's way, apparently.
Yeah, which whatever that means. Sully's an interesting character. We should maybe circle back to that. But um oh, where to start on my issues with this episode?
Oh,
Just
okay.
just the whole thing between Sully and Mickey of like we're buddies, but I've got to kill you. Like, is
So
this
like
still a thing in
out of a
shows?
bad mob movie from 30 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, exactly. It's like, didn't we get over this in the 90s? Like, oh man, you got to smack me and I'm bleeding from my forehead, but let's talk about the good old days. And oh, before you kill me and point the gun at me, let me ask you to dig another hole so I can don't bury me with the girl you just shot. And I guess there's some honor code here between these, bigoted, racist old white men. Which is just funny. I guess that's what's supposed to be shown is the contrast of
Yeah,
how
don't
they,
forget sexist.
yeah, sexist, and but they have a secret wink, wink honor code amongst themselves. It just didn't work for me. And then the show pulls this super cheap shot, which is it's like even earlier than the '90s that I thought we were over this of like, this is a main character that we know isn't going to die, but we're going to show a gun getting pulled on him and then cut to something else for fake effect of like, oh, what's going to happen? But wait, before you kill me, let me tell you something that'll make it so you do something totally different. And then we get the, cock of the gun, and then it switches somewhere else, and it's just so over the top. Like I had no desire to fall for that.
Well, I don't know if I can defend it too much, but I will say that I felt like I could see the step-by-step trying of Mickey trying to talk his way out of it, hitting some dead ends, and then finally happening on like, wait a second, you're mad because I killed Colleen? That's what this is about? Well, it does just so happen that that I have the answer for that. So I enjoyed it while it was happening well enough, the probing, the trying to fast talk, failing, and then finally succeeding.
Yeah, but
Um,
and Colleen being the reason that the whole plan is thwarted and can be changed on the fly for Sully, because Mickey also ratted out Sully's entire family, including his gay son, and somebody died in prison as a result of something. Like, again, with this show, Ray Donovan, a lot of backstory is covered in like a casual conversation sort of way that you have to really pay attention closely. But the whole Colleen thing, it didn't feel justified enough to like wipe out like the 27 other things Mickey did to Sully that made it so that he deserved to die. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he did sort of explain it away in one sentence worth, but you're right, that's awfully convenient. And I will definitely agree that it just is awfully convenient there, right? Oh, so when Ray and Ezra framed Mickey for killing Colleen, ironically, that's the thing that made Sully want to kill Mickey most of all, and then doubly ironically, that's the thing that saves him because it didn't actually happen.
Right. And it right at the super pivotal moment of a gun at his head after the second hole is dug and there's lots of extra time for conversation after the token woman is killed. Just whatever.
Okay, fair enough. I can't really argue too much, although I I I enjoyed John Voight as Mickey doing it while it happened. I'll just say.
Sure.
Um, but then Sully calls the guy at the Fight Club and who tells Ray that it's been done. Ray gives him the money. Of course, it wasn't, and then everyone hears about Sean Walker getting it, and then they're probably not going to find Sully anymore. And so this is what they were building up to, it seems. Um, Ray is like, oh crap, I thought I had to kill my dad, and I kind of do still have to kill him. I didn't want to do it myself because he is my dad and my family would be upset, but it has to happen. I tried to do it another way. That didn't work. And at the same time, his family just keeps coming at him with, he's changed, you don't know him, we've been developing a relationship with him, and so he's really struggling with all that. And I finally get in Ray's head a little bit as to the extent of what he's wrestling with when he's on that drive. That's like the first time I've ever sort of got Ray at all.
So do share. I want to hear.
Oh well, that's what I'm saying. He has to deal with his long-standing deal with Ezra. Everything could go away if Mickey rats them out, and so he has to go. It's just what happens to people who are loose ends, and that's very important. But he doesn't realize now that even though he's trying to protect his family, it'll also crush his family if Mickey goes away. And so those are the things he's wrestling with.
Yeah, and then we've got the scene with he and his wife Abby, and she kind of explains just how close she is to Mickey. She wrote to him. She's the one who asked him to come, and I guess that's supposed to pile on to this idea that the show's trying to create, that like Ray and Mickey aren't as far apart as they seemed at the beginning, because it seemed like it started off with Ray being the hero and Mickey being the villain, even though it's more nuanced than that. And now it's like trying to switch it up and show how it's more complicated. They're about the same or something.
Right. I've got a guest appearance from my dog. Looks like he was
wanting to hang out.
But yeah, you're right. And so I liked Abby a little bit more. She was getting nosy, of course, but she finally played her card on the table that she had been developing this relationship. So yeah, for some of those reasons, okay, but okay. I found myself enjoying it a little bit more. I wish I had had some of these beats, some of these scenes a lot earlier in the season, but I appreciated them.
Right, and then there was a lot of other filler, like, molested Bunchy, pondering suicide, and what were the other ones? There's these side characters that all like are messed up in the checkbox sort of way, so that the show can cover like the 8 worst ways that a family can go wrong or something. Did you like any of that other stuff, or were you more fixated on the main storyline?
Well, I was intrigued by Bunchy seeing that priest. I can't figure out what we're supposed to think. Did he really find the same priest? We do know that Mickey killed the wrong guy, right?
Right, we know that much, and I read it as him finding the right guy, but then what do I know? It could just be a psychological. I mean, this is the show that, shows people's interpretations of reality visually on the screen, so it could be that Bunchy is imagining things.
Mickey does have a good point when he's like, he just wanted to be that person, and like,
right.
Yeah, I could see that happening to Bunchy.
Right. So
Mickey
one
also
other
says, I'm sorry. Mickey also says, so deal with it if you're so convinced. The suggestion to me is that, well, okay, kill him yourself, and that I think could maybe actually still happen. We will see.
Yeah, another death in a random way. Okay, yeah. The other thing I wanted to point out is as a annoyance, maybe not as big as some of the other ones I already did. Ezra being like spot on with his advice and being like super together after
I wrote
seeing
that down too, because he was such a mess before.
Right, now he's back to being like this father figure of a nuanced, in-touch guy, and it's just like, okay, I thought he was crazy, but whatever.
Right. So, yeah, those are the exact other 2 things I wrote down. So, yeah, some flaws, certainly. Ray Donovan has had a lot of flaws here.
Right, and I have to say, Logan, I think I'm coming to the conclusion that it's as much me as it's Ray Donovan's fault. I just am not compelled by the subject matter of this show. Like, these demons, these issues that these fictional people are having to deal with, like, very little of it resonates with me. Maybe I'm just not sensitive enough, or I don't respect these real-world problems that are exaggerated and brought together all in one family in a super concentrated way, but maybe in isolation. These are real things that really should be seen and developed in a TV show, and I'm missing that. But somehow altogether, it's like I just don't really care. It's like it's so over the top for me. Um,
No, I think you're trying to be generous, justifying it as being you. I It's just showing us a lot of things we've already seen and we've seen done better. I mean, it's sort of Sopranos light meets a twist of Entourage light or something like that,
right.
and it's not doing either of those as well as the originals have done it. And since it's second best, it would have to be better to not seem worse. So.
Right, and it's got the 90s gangster movie motif thrown in for good measure, sandwiched in the middle, and it's like, okay.
Right. There's some problems with the premise, and as we're seeing, some good, some bad with the way it pulls it off, but a lot of it unsuccessful, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought this was kind of a decent week for Ray Donovan. At least I saw a couple things I wanted to see. For example, a good acting performance from John Boyd, and I finally got in Ray Donovan's head a little bit. Um, but yeah, we've got two more episodes, so I'll be happy to see how it ends, and also I'll be happy to put it behind us.
Ditto.